Welcome to Friday Night Readers. Fueled by coffee, we break down the books referenced on Gilmore Girls. Our little literary corner of the world helps you understand what the characters are talking so fast about and live in a world of books like Rory. Like short, read fast. Before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to our Friday Night Readers newsletter community on Substack. You'll get instant access to a free printable list of 450 plus books on Gilmore Girls. Plus, even more Gilmore-inspired content, like our Rory Gilmore Reading Challenge, which we've been doing together since 2020. Paid members get exclusive extras, like our Gilmore Girls-inspired reading journal, and our unofficial guide to the books on Gilmore Girls. Come hang out where the real Gilmore magic happens. FridayNightReaders.substack.com. Hello, Friday Night Readers. Today, we're talking about books with adaptations on Gilmore Girls that you can read and watch, and I've got 260 of them for you. February is our month to read books adapted to film from Gilmore Girls because we are so often stuck indoors, and we can both read and watch from these hundreds of options. I've used this prompt in our Rory Gilmore Reading Challenge every single winter for this very reason. And if you're new around here and need more information, in the show notes, I am linking our Rory Gilmore Reading Challenge and the Rory Gilmore Reading List for you. Many of these film adaptations also correspond to children's books from Gilmore Girls, which was January's prompt, so you can easily read 2 short books to start our reading challenge. No worries if you found us a little bit late in the year or got a little bit behind in the beginning. So I actually already listened to several of these poems, short stories, and children's books on YouTube during one short afternoon while working, and I've gotten several under my belts very easily this month. I also watched Gone with the Wind for the first time ever. It is 4 hours long, and while the book is also long and intimidating, it's been referenced so many times on the show that I felt it was time to at least watch it. I did really enjoy it and think it's a very good movie, but I do want to note that it's also very controversial because it portrays the Civil War South with rosy-colored lenses, which we all know isn't exactly true to the time. First, let's talk about our featured book of the month. It will be none other than Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. It is arguably the hottest classic of the moment, as the new adaptation starring Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi as Heathcliff releases in the US on February 13th, 2026. I have linked the trailer in the show notes for you. And just as a reminder, a featured book is just one book from the list that I choose to feature in a full-length post that month. You don't have to choose it, but whether you read it or whether you decide to read it this month, I still try to make something fun for you to consume around it. I personally read this gothic novel in high school and I did like it, but know that it's dark and not your average love story. The story centers on the volatile relationship between Heathcliff and Catherine Earnshaw, whose fierce bond shapes the fate of both Wuthering Heights and its neighbor, Thrushcross Grange, on the bleak English moors. Their actions leave lasting consequences as the narrative explores obsessive love, revenge, class conflict, power, and generational trauma. I told you it was different. In the show notes, I've also linked the movie tie-in edition of the book. Now, let's talk about 10 books with adaptations that are just as good or better than the book from the Gilmore Girls reading list. I do these top 10s to help you choose a book, and while they're usually focused on the quality of the books, here it's a mix. I picked 10 movies that are particularly iconic. In some cases, the book wasn't as good. I think that this month, doing it this way makes for a more interactive reading experience. Of course, you can always read and or watch whatever you want in our reading challenge. First, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory by Roald Dahl. A poor-but-kind young boy wins a golden ticket that leads him through a magical chocolate factory and offers him a life-changing opportunity. I give both the book and the original Gene Wilder movie adaptation 5 out of 5 stars. They exemplify the whimsy that we all need right now while imparting a lesson. And you may recall that just a few weeks ago, I featured this book, so I will link that in the show notes for you as well. Second is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. A young scientist creates life through unnatural means, and he must face the tragic consequences of his own ambition. This book is now an all-time favorite classic of mine, with exquisite writing and thoughtful themes that remain so relevant today in an age of artificial intelligence. I did enjoy the recent Netflix adaptation as well, but I do think the book is a lot better. Third, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling. You know the story. An orphan boy discovers he's a wizard and enters a magical academic world where he must battle evil and darkness. It's arguably the most popular book of all time, as well as one of the most popular movies of all time. So I'll just leave it at that. Next, let's talk about Mary Poppins by P.L. Travers. A magical nanny transforms an ordinary family's life through extraordinary adventures and lessons. This is one story where the book is fine, but the movie musical is pure magic. This was one of my most rewatched movies as a child, and who can blame me? Julie Andrews and Dick Van Dyke are icons. Let's also talk about Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. A sharp-witted young woman navigates love, class, and misunderstandings while learning to challenge her own judgments. Arguably the greatest love story of all time, as well as Jane Austen's most famous work, both the BBC adaptation and the Keira Knightley adaptation are also beloved. This is easily one of my favorite books, movies, and adaptations. Next, Pygmalion by George Bernard Shaw. A professor attempts to transform a poor flower seller into a refined lady, exposing the rigid boundaries of social class. The adaptation is called My Fair Lady, and it stars my favorite actress, Audrey Hepburn. This film is eye candy from start to finish, and it's one of my favorites to rewatch every spring because it just has that vibe. Next, Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare. Two young lovers from rival families pursue forbidden love that leads to devastating consequences. This is another one of the most popular love stories of all time, making it perfect for Valentine's Day. It's also a really good gateway into Shakespeare because many people already know the storyline and it's not that hard to read. The 1990s Leonardo DiCaprio and Claire Danes adaptation is a visual masterpiece. The Shining by Stephen King. A family's winter isolation in a remote hotel awakens dark supernatural forces and a father's growing instability. Now, I am too scared to watch the full movie, but I did watch the trailer, seeing scenes from it in various places over the years. We also hear Rory Gilmore say, "Here's Johnny," a few times in Gilmore Girls. The book was just good for me. It is not my favorite Stephen King book. Technically, though, one could argue that it's his most popular book. I picked it because its setting is perfect for winter. We're almost there. To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. A child observes racial injustice and moral courage in her southern town as her father defends an innocent man. Not only is this book one of the great American novels and a reader favorite, but the classic movie features memorable scenes starring Gregory Peck that still stand the test of time and are beloved by viewers alike. Both were favorites of mine in high school. Last but not least, The Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum. A young girl is swept into a fantastical land and journeys with unlikely companions to find her way home. It doesn't happen often, but in this case, the movie is so iconic that it really is better than the book. That said, it's referenced so often on Gilmore Girls that it's worth the read too. You may also want to dive into one of our previously featured books or some of our community's favorite book adaptations. I'm linking our previously featured books that have movie adaptations in the show notes for you. Here are some that came up that were also on the Gilmore Girls reading list. Outlander, A Streetcar Named Desire, Lord of the Rings, that was actually the winner and got the most votes, Harry Potter, and The Great Gatsby. A few others that came up are Little Women, A Little Princess, Sense and Sensibility, The Talented Mr. Ripley, Anne of Green Gables, The Green Mile, and The Summer I Turned Pretty. All great options. If you want to know what some of my favorite book adaptations are, they include The Devil Wears Prada, Pride and Prejudice, Clueless, which is an adaptation of Jane Austen's Emma, and Little Women. Oh, I'll add one more, Mean Girls, which you may or may not know is actually a book adaptation of a nonfiction book. I think it was called something like Queen Bees and Wannabes. Okay, so as I mentioned, there are actually 260 books that have adaptations from the Gilmore Girls reading list. I'm not going to list them all here for you, but they are in the show notes. And not only did I list them out, but I went through all the ones that I have read and gave it either a thumbs up, a heart, or a thumbs down. This is all to help you decide what to read and make your experience in our Rory Gilmore reading challenge both easier and more fun. When you head to the post, let us know what book from Gilmore Girls you're reading and or watching this month. See you next time. Thanks so much for listening to Friday Night Readers. I love having you here in our little corner of the Gilmore Girls world. If you'd like even more feel-good fun, then upgrade to a free or paid email subscription membership at FridayNightReaders.substack.com. Paid members get exclusive extras like our Gilmore Girls-inspired reading journal and our unofficial guide to the books on Gilmore Girls, broken down by episode. You'll also unlock members-only posts like weekly gazettes and monthly bookmarks, as well as full community access to our chats. It's the coziest virtual place like Stars Hollow, and your support helps keep this podcast going strong. Lastly, if you enjoyed today's episode, please take a minute to rate and review the show. It helps other Gilmore fans find us, which helps me provide you with more content like this. Until next time, life short, read fast.